I'm Scotty. I'm a practicing witch and a professional tarot nerd. And today I'm a storyteller, and I'm glad you're here. It's spooky season, and this is another in a series of stories I'm calling the 13 Days of Halloween. I grew up out in the country, and when I was growing up I had all kinds of adventures. Some of them were funny, some of them were exciting, not a few of them were mysterious or spooky. Now, all these stories are true, even if they didn't happen. Now, I grew up in a small country town, and out in the country like that, even in town, it's not unusual to see random livestock wandering around. Some folks kept chickens in their yards, and I once even saw somebody's prize bull walking up the middle of Main Street like he had some place to be. But what's not usual to see is a well-dressed man chasing livestock around the streets, hollering at it in German. Old Doc Weiss moved to town with his family after World War I. Never really knew why he picked our town, but he built himself a medical practice there. He was the town doctor for a long time, and eventually he built him a nice big building on the corner, right in the middle of town. His family lived on the top floor. Down below, he had his office and a little pharmacy, and there was a bakery and a general store that his wife ran. And out back, they had this nice yard. It was all fenced in. And on one side, they had a little vegetable garden, and on the other side, Dr. Weiss kept a small herd of goats. Hear tell of it, he had a love-hate relationship with those goats. Folks would see him out there with them, taking care of them and giving them treats and singing to them. And the next thing you know, those goats would be getting out of that pen, and he'd be chasing them down the streets, hollering at them in German. They don't ever seem to have gotten into the garden. Maybe they didn't want to disrespect Mrs. Weiss that way. And no matter what old Doc Weiss did to try to keep those goats pinned up, they'd figure out a way out. And there he'd be, chasing them down the streets, hollering at them. Doc Weiss was really community oriented, and one year he was around Christmas time, and he wanted to bring in a big old Christmas tree and have a fancy Christmas tree lighting with electric lights, and invited the whole town. I say he imported this big old Christmas tree all the way from Germany. They brought this tree in, and they set it up, and they had the lights all strung, and everybody was ready to go. There was a lot of excitement in the town, and then those goats, they got out of that pen in the backyard, and they managed to climb that big old Christmas tree. And there they were, these goats, just standing up in that tree. And no matter what coaxing they did, they couldn't get those goats down. Old Doc Weiss hollering and screaming at them in German. They just stayed, looking around. So they say everybody just decided to go on with their celebration, and they had their Christmas tree lighting, and they sang their carols and told their stories, and everybody apparently had a good time, including those goats. Now, this went on for a long time. Doc Weiss chasing those goats around, hollering at them. And those goats doing everything they could to find a way out. Now, when old Doc Weiss passed away, Mrs. Weiss, she sold that building and those businesses and that practice, and she bought her a place outside of town, and she took those goats with her. And that's where she stayed with those old goats until she passed too several years later. But it didn't take long before people started seeing goats running around in the streets after dark. Now they figured that maybe those old goats had gotten away from Mrs. Weiss and had made their way back to town to visit their old stomping grounds. But every now and then, somebody would swear that they heard old Doc Weiss hollering at them goats in German. I was in the marching band when I was in high school. Every year we were in the Christmas parade, and the whole town would show up, and there'd be floats with trailers pulled behind tractors and choirs of children singing Christmas carols. And of course we were in the band, and our uniforms, we looked so snazzy, and we would play Christmas carols marching up the street. There'd be folks riding their horses all up the street. This one year, we were having another Christmas parade, and everything was well underway. And I always enjoyed those parades. It was a lot of fun. And I heard a ruckus start back behind me. At first it was just sounds of confusion, and then shouts, more sounds of confusion, people hollering, and I saw this goat run by, and then another one, and then I realized there were goats everywhere, weaving in and out of the parade. Kids in the band were confused and running away, and I just watched these goats. I thought it was funny. And soon the whole parade just sort of fell apart. Folks were scattering, confused, and there's this man comes running by me in a real nice suit, and he's hollering at those goats in German. Now, I don't speak German, but I remember what I heard him say as he ran on by. He said, "Get nach Hause, ihr Teufel." The top of his lungs. I went to the library and I looked all that up. Get nach Hause, ihr Teufel. Go home, you devils. I don't really know what happened that night, but I don't guess I'll ever forget it. When those Christmas goats ruined our parade. I want to thank you for spending some of your time with me today. If you've enjoyed this story about the Christmas goats, please like, subscribe, share, comment. My name's Scotty.